With your computer. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Sure. All right, so I think everybody probably has had time to get logged into the QR code. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Suzanne Beck, and I am the Program Development and Training Specialist here at Nefat, with a clear, complete focus on professional development certification program. So we talk about Pdcp all the time. And honestly, I didn't even know what a Pdcp meant. And here's my background a little bit. I spent a few years, well, almost 10 years working in an elementary classroom in Putnam County. And a friend of mine was a novice teacher mentor in a district down south. And I really felt strongly that we could make a difference in our district. And so I went to our superintendent and said, hey, I really would like to start a mentoring program for new teachers. And eventually they were able to fund it through some grants. And I was able to be one of the first novice teacher mentors here in Putnam. And it was a great year. I got to support new teachers. I spent a lot of time helping with bulletin boards initially, and then with classroom management and doing modeling and kind of a slow release process with teachers who needed some additional support. We met almost weekly and really dug into the work of being a new teacher. And I know it's very hard. I know it's challenging at the very least some days. I was an alternative certified teacher. My degree is not in education either. So I feel like I understand the battle that you guys are all facing and that you're feeling right now. And interestingly, my husband has just taken a job in Union County in a CTE class, and he's feeling the same pain. He has a master's degree. He's been a city manager and just kind of decided he wanted to try something new. And while he's loving it, he comes home every day stressed and feeling all the same things that you guys feel. So I want you to know kind of my background. Last year we moved to Northeast Georgia, and I spent the year working with interns and who were in an education field. And so the cool thing about coming back to this work is it's all the same. Pdcp as a rule is here to help you get that teacher certification, but it's also a bigger picture than that. It is the best practices in education. So today we're going to talk a little bit about understanding the pathways of how to get to that Florida certification. What are some of your options? What the cost looks like for some of those options, and then let you kind of anchor in understanding where you need to go, and then you can make a choice. What you decide to do from here is totally up to you. So our goal for today is really to help you understand what your options are and your pathways, and then what is Pdcp and what does that mean to you. Some of you may have gotten on the call the other day, so you might hear some things that are a little redundant, but we'll move through those as quickly as possible for you. But I want you to understand that it is that those best practices that support teachers. Florida has what they call the Feats, the Florida Educator. I can never remember the exact term. You know, we have so many acronyms, which is another thing that's very overwhelming, but it's basically those standards for teachers. That's what you're being held to every single day. And because you come in without a teacher ed background, just like I did, there were so many things that we sat through that first pre-planning, and I wondered, what does that mean? People kept saying pedagogy, 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 and finally halfway through the day I Googled, what does pedagogy mean? Because I just didn't know. And so that is what Pdcp will help you fill those gaps. It will help you understand what those best practices in education are, and we're going to chunk them out and kind of take them off bit by bit to support you through that learning. I know that in Alachua County, you guys have specific mentors from the district. So I know you have some of those supports. I also know that you guys have the local or school-based mentors that are often kind of the informal person, maybe your team leader, or maybe your department chair who supports you in that day-to-day work. So I'm just another layer in that if you choose to go the Pdcp route. So as we talk about this, I just want you to think about these as teaching best practices. And that will, I think, help kind of anchor that work. So who's on your team? If you decide to go the Pdcp route, it's your principal, your assistant principal, your instructional coach at your school, if you have one, your district mentor, your site-based mentor, which we just talked about. I will be an online assessor for you, as well as a friend of mine named Spring. She has been in a coaching role as well as a teacher for many years. And then you've got your district coordinator, which is Jennifer, sorry. And then myself. So I want you to go ahead, you feel free to write down my email address and my phone number. You are more than welcome to reach out to me at any time. And honestly, my phone number and email address are written about 30 times throughout this system, so you have access to me anytime you need me. And I try really hard. This next week is going to be a little muddy because I was out with COVID last week, so I'm playing catch up from last week and trying to finish the orientations I already had scheduled for next week. So my calendar's kind of crazy the next week, but after that, my goal is to get back to you in no less than 48 hours. I mean, no more than 48 hours. So I want you to think about, and you might want to take notes on this. There are some overall requirements for you to get your teacher certification. If you go the Pdcp route, one of those routes is you have to do these 20 tasks that are built into the system. You have to have a 3 or a 4 on all of the rubric-based assessments. And not only are those 20 tasks there, but throughout that time, you also have to pass your general knowledge test, your subject area exam, and your professional. You typically have 3 years to do all of this work from your first date of hire. So your statement of eligibility will spell out exactly what you need and the time frame that your temporary expires. But before your temporary expires, you have to have done all of these pieces. So you have to have done the 20 tasks. You must do the testing for general knowledge, for subject area exam, and your professional educator test. One caveat is if you have a master's degree in any content area, then you do not have to take the general knowledge test. There are multiple pieces to general knowledge. There's the ELA and the reading. There is a writing component and a math component. So you do have to pass all of those in order to be considered passing the general knowledge. But if you have a master's degree, that waives those pieces. So that saves you some time in that if you have it. Your subject area exam is like, if you're in elementary school, it would be K6 or K3, maybe pre-K3. And then I saw some of you had Spanish. Some of you had biology. So whatever those different subject areas specifically are, you have to pass that exam, showing that you're competent in that subject. So thinking about those pieces, you do have 3 years to do them. And I believe Jennifer and Amy have probably gone through your statement of eligibility with you, or your mentors have in the last little bit. If not, they will be. You also have to have reading endorsement competencies. So those are varied depending on your grade level. If you're teaching K to 6, you do have to have all 5 of the reading endorsement competencies, or if you're in upper grades and you're teaching ELA or doing tier 3 work, then you have to have kind of a variety of requirements. In secondary, talking about middle school or high school, typically you have to have reading competency 1 and 2. So there are some differences there. Again, it will tell you on your statement of eligibility what you need. The last piece that we've already kind of talked about is your professional education exam. That's usually the last thing you do. Or if you have a highly effective performance on your summative evaluation the year before or the last year before your temporary expires, then you don't have to take your professional education exam. So I just wanted to let you know what the requirements are. If you decide to go the Pdcp route, there are other options such as an EPI program, which is that Educator Preparation Institute. You go through a college to do that. I believe that Santa Fe, I heard today, they've discontinued their EPI program. So I'm not sure if UF is still doing it or if there are other options there locally for you guys. For the EPI program, usually the cost on an EPI program, which is the next cheapest route to Pdcp, usually the cost on that is about $2,800 to $3,500, depending on the school. If you go the EPI route, you go to college and you take those college classes. I believe it's over the course of, I think it's over the course of 2 years, but don't hold me to that. But I believe it's a 2-year possibility that you go to college and you take the classes along with your teaching. Kind of a benefit of Pdcp is that you can do it within the context of your workday. So we'll talk a little bit more about those benefits in just a moment. My goal for you, you don't have to complete all of these things in 1 year. My goal for you this year is to get through these 20 tasks. I believe with all my heart that these tasks are the tools that you need to do your job. In the past, we've not included first-year people in the task portion. We had them go ahead and working on their testing. We had them working on their reading competencies, but we didn't always have them working on the task in the first year. And I actually had someone on the call the other day that said, oh my gosh, this would have been so helpful my first year. So I think that's a great perspective. And I think it's a very true reality. We often have alt-cert folks come in and they don't know teachery things. And so that this course will help fill that gap for you. Along with the work your mentors do and various and sundry other things. But our goal is to have these 20 tasks completed this year. You really have until March to do them before your temporary expires. So many of you probably have 3 years to do this. But I think the information is important. We are going to have some support sessions virtually and face-to-face to help you with this. And then there's a suggested timeline for both elementary and secondary within the course. And I know that Amy and Jennifer have shared their timeline with you also. So the benefit of doing a Pdcp program versus an EPI program, there's no travel. There's no textbooks. You can do this on the beach if you want to, or sitting in front of your pool at home, or you can work from your classroom. And a lot of the work, honestly, is classroom based. You're looking at your students and doing some very real work on things such as differentiation, right within the context of your classroom. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that looks like when we go over the calendar of support and help you understand what that looks like. It is self-directed. And so Pdcp is not for everyone because you have to really be diligent. And I know your plates are full. I know probably you feel like you're hanging on by your fingernails some days when you leave school. My husband is teaching a class this year, and he comes home every single day and does work for about 3 or 4 hours before going back to school the next day. So I've had that really big refresher in the reality of the work of becoming a teacher. And so it's been fun to do this work along with watching him. And I feel like it's helped me understand what new teachers need even more than I already, my experience had kind of taught. So today we're going to actually log you into the system, let you look at it. We'll walk through exactly how it's broken down and what the expectations are. And then in Alachua County, there is a cost to you per semester. It's $500. And you will have to get with Jennifer about having that drafted out of your paycheck each paycheck. A semester runs from, for you guys, runs from August, right now, when you're logged in today, you can get started. It runs from August all the way through January 31st. So we've extended that just a little bit because there are people that get really close to being finished and we don't want to charge them additional $500 if you can get finished in that time frame. If not, the new semester starts January 1st and runs through June 30th. So we don't grade over the summer. We don't do those kinds of things. It is between January and June, and then between August and January 31st. So each semester for you guys costs $500. But again, even if it took you 2 semesters, and that's my goal, is to have you finished by then. But if it took you 2 semesters, it still is almost a $2,000 savings from your next cheapest option. I do want to mention to you, if you choose to do this, I'm going to ask that you use Word or PDF documents when you upload them. And if you will, please save them with your last name first, and then your first name and the document title. So here would be an example, Beck, Suzanne, and then here is my document title that was already in the system. So I'll give you just a second if you want to take a photo of that, but really this is built in throughout the entire system. So it'll be a reminder constantly. I just wanted to make sure that you see it. So the benefits of Pdcp we just talked about. If you participate in an Nefat district, their districts pay in for member services, so they don't actually have a cost. But for you, being a larger district and not part of the Nefat districts, it does cost you $500 a semester. I had someone the other day say, hey, can I do it in a semester? I really think you could probably, if you put your mind to it, you could probably knock these out by the end of January. But you don't have to. You actually have as long as it takes to do these. But knowing that you have to pay $500 a semester, I think it's easily doable within a year. The classroom best practices that the teacher education majors would need to learn is what we're going to cover. We'll look a little bit more about that. You can do this within your school contract hours. Because Alachua County does support Pdcp, you can do it during your planning, after, before school. You can do it with the support of your local teacher in your classroom or your school-based mentor, as well as your district mentor. So your district mentors all will have access to the system and be able to support you by looking at the task and such. So, and you also have myself in spring that will be grading. You can reach out to us anytime. So are there any questions thus far? I know we really only talked about one other option, which is the EPI program. There's another option that you can complete 15 credit hours of coursework at a local college. There are other options such as Para to Pro. So if you wanted to be a para and Alachua County has that program, you could go from para and work as a parapro and then become a professional educator by going through and doing it's basically the same coursework, to be quite honest. I also wanted to mention to you, when I went through an EPI program, because I was alternatively certified as well, I kept my binder of all the work that I did. Last year as a professor at the college, I went and got that binder out as my students were doing their work and wrapping up their year's worth of work and pulling all of their information. And it really struck me that my EPI program and their internship year were exactly the same work. There was maybe one assignment that was really a little tweaky different. And that could be because Georgia's a little different. But then Anna had asked me to move this from the old system to the new system. And I was shocked as I began moving it to realize that these assignments or these tasks are exactly the same as the assignments that my seniors worked on last year in their year of internship. So that's why I really want you to understand these are the best practices. These are the same thing that teachers that are going through the College of Education, you're not getting all the 3 years of background information, but you're getting that year of practical work of learning what it is to be a teacher and how to support students in the way that the state is asking for students to be supported. I feel like with Pdcp, you have an awful lot of support options to help you through this. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Are there any questions so far? Feel free to turn on your mic and just ask away. All right, I'm going to keep going then. Feel free to turn it on and ask a question if you have them. So here's how the system is set up. And there are 3 blocks of task. The first one starts really simple. What is Pdcp and what are my goals for completing? What are my timeframes? What does that look like for me as an educator? Some of you are in very different places in your life than others. And so it just allows you to kind of anchor your work because it is self-paced. You have to really stay on top of it yourself. Introduction to the Feats, those Florida educator best practices and teacher standards. That's really what those are. So are you understanding where we're going with the picture? It's kind of like giving you the learning objectives as a student. We're giving teachers the learning objectives of this is the expectation for you to rise to meet the state requirements as a teacher. The state content standards is the third piece, and you can see over here it lists all of those as short tasks. This I don't want you to get hung up on. A short task does not take 5 hours, I promise. In fact, I can prove to you that it doesn't take 5 hours because we're going to, in one of our virtual sessions, we're going to do these 3 tasks as well as one other in an hour. And I fully believe that you could probably finish, if not finish, come very close to being finished with those 4 tasks within an hour's time frame. So when you look at these, I don't want you to freak out about them. I actually had a prior student of Pdcp ask or share the other day. I said, how long do you think a short task takes? And he said between 30 and 45 minutes. The middle task probably take about an hour. And then the long task, they are long. I don't think they're 3 weeks or more long, but they do take probably 3 hours, 3 to 5 hours to complete. However, you don't have to do them all at one time. You're not sitting down and doing a whole thing at one time. They're chunked into individual pieces to help you navigate through that. So what I wanted you to see is we've got block 1, and we start here with classroom management. That's a key piece for many, many, many first year, actually, I'd venture to say 100% of first year, maybe even some second year classroom teachers, no matter where your background comes from, because let's be honest, no matter how much you do in education courses, you can't get hands-on with kids until you actually are in a classroom with students. And that's when you realize, whoa, what I had all that head knowledge about didn't really work like I thought it was going to. So it is kind of in the trenches kind of work. And so you can see that's one of them. One of the goals here, or one of the tasks is, what are your goals as a teacher? Where do you feel like you need to work and grow? So these are the foundational pieces. The communication plan is, how are you communicating with parents? What does your syllabus have in it? Does your orientation or your open house slideshow, what information are you giving to parents? And it gives you what all you should have there. One of the things my husband came home he said, I've got to do a syllabus, but I don't really know. It's been years since I've looked at a syllabus and what all was needed in that. So this gives you that information and supports you through doing it. So these are the foundational pieces. Then you go into block 2. You see here, there are not quite as many short tasks. They begin to fall more in the middle range. These are a little more detailed. So for instance, on the differentiated instruction 1 that happened in block 1 right here, this is overall looking at your class. What are the demographics in your class? Who needs help? What are the areas that students are struggling? Then in this one, you're going to choose 2 students, and we're going to work together to find some strategies to meet those specific students' needs. And then you're going to go and practice that in the classroom with those students. And then after 4 weeks, you're going to wrap up that task with your reflection on their learning. And if it didn't work, then that's your reflection. It's not a pass or fail situation like a college classroom would be. It is truly, what are you learning from this, and how do we tweak it to make it better each time? So these tasks are things that you have to have in your classroom. You see rubric-based assessment. We talk about formative and summative assessments. All of those are teacher talk that people coming in with alternative certified situations don't know the background to. And so this is filling those gaps for you and helping you understand what those real world applications are asking for. Again, I would disregard this and kind of think about those tasks in the form of less than an hour to an hour, and then the longer ones in that 3 to 5 hour range. Some of them do have a prerequisite to the next block or the task in the next block. So you'll see here we have differentiated instruction 2, and then we have unit plan 1. You have to do unit plan 1 before we get to block 3, because unit plan 1 is the plan. Unit plan 2 is the observation and the teaching piece of that unit plan. So you have to have someone come in. Usually it's your mentor. It could be your principal or AP if you choose, but usually it's your local mentor that's going to come in and do an observation based on a very specific format. It does not go toward any kind of evaluation at all. It is just a growth tool. So it's there to support you in the work that you're doing. So you can kind of see these are set up. The only ones that are required to be done in an order are the ones that have prerequisites. The rest of them you can bounce around and do however many of them in whatever order you'd like to do. So any questions on the task and how those tasks are set up? All right, I'm going to move on. The format of the course is set up for the entire state of Florida. This is something that was run through DOE for many, many years, and we have taken it out of the DOE system, which was not a learning management system. It was very cumbersome. There was a lot of emailing of tasks back and forth. We've done away with that, and we've created a system that will house it all together. I'm not sure, does Alachua County use Canvas or Google Classroom? Yes, I'm seeing that heads nod.
Canvas.
Okay, Canvas, awesome. So we're using Moodle. That's the format of our system, but it is an updated version of Moodle, and it looks much more similar to Canvas than the old Moodles did. So with that said, the content is still the same. Everything that was in the old system, because they're based on the standards for educators, because they are what's required, it's great work. But it is very formula. So when we look at the lesson plan template, this is probably much more extensive than the lesson plan template you may use in your school. Although I grew up as a teacher using a lesson plan template that looked very similar to this. And quite honestly, with my new teachers last year, I always tell the story. I had a teacher who She really kicked against doing extensive lesson plans like this. We don't have time. There's so much to do in the day. It just doesn't work for me. And every single week she struggled so much with students being successful on their test. And every single week she came in crying that her students, only 3 or 4 out of her class had passed the test or had been proficient at best. And so another one of my students said, who did great lesson plans, really diligent about them every single week. And she said, well, here's what I do. I actually print out my lesson plans and I carry them around all day long, and they are my Bible. She said, I read from them. I have my questions on there. I don't lose time in transitions because I know right where I'm going next. She went down a list of how important the lesson plan was for her. And it was the magic moment for the other student. And it was funny because it didn't matter how often I had said, this is not a task. It's not something for you to fight through. It really is there for you. So I want to say, if you're struggling with filling your time frame, whatever that is, if you're struggling with going outside of your time frame, if you have students that are off task because you're off task, sometimes if you give them 30 seconds too long, they take it and run with it, and it's really hard to get them back with you. Those pieces will be solved through really planning out your lesson well. So this will give you some practice in doing that. There are terms here like lesson objectives or lesson goals or essential questions. Depending on your school or your district, you may use different terminology, but those would fit into that bracket. So because it is state, it has to be a little more broad, and you will narrow it down to what you use in Alachua County. So you can't leave anything blank. We ask you, if you, for some reason, you're not including some piece, that you write NA. That way I know that you didn't just miss a block, or that maybe you thought that you would come back to it and you just forgot and uploaded it. So there are 5 tasks that require you to submit a lesson plan. So over the course of the 20 tasks, you will do lesson plans within 5 of those. So are there any questions kind of about the expectation around the state requirements or lesson planning in itself? All right, I'm going to keep going. So mentor requirements. I want you as participants to know what the mentor requirements are. Your mentors have already been through this training, or they may be on the call with us today. But they must meet for at least 10 minutes in length once a week. And they have a form that they document these and send them to Jennifer. So they are logged every single week. They are there to help you with professional development, so that if you know, I am really struggling in classroom management, talk to your mentor about it. They will be your best friend in solving some of those things. So that liaison support, if you need to go to a principal, or you just can't get to your principal during the day, but you're feeling some kind of way, you are welcome to share that with your mentor, and they can go to your administration for you. So on your behalf, I guess. So just to know, they are there to provide reinforcement and encouragement. They are not there in an evaluative sense. They're not judging you. They are there really to help you grow. There's a lot of research about teaching and how students are most successful. And students are most successful with teachers who are successful. And so you become successful probably not in your first year. Your first year is a learning year. You may be successful, and if you are, more power to you. That just shows your greatness. But for most people, it takes a year under their belt before they begin feeling any level of success. So we want you to have support to grow within that year and really become the teacher that you will eventually be. They are there to help you with understanding the Pdcp task. If you get feedback or revisions on something saying, hey, I want you to go back and look at this segment. You missed a couple of the rubric bullets here. They're there to help you with those tasks. So please use them in that capacity. They are there if you need some resources to help you find resources. And then, of course, I have asked them over and over, and if there are mentors on the call, I'm asking you to stay behind your mentees, because this is self-paced and teachers' lives are insanely busy. In order for us to make sure you get to the end of the year successfully, we want them to stay on you and make sure that you're moving forward with your task. And I'll talk in just a minute about how that might look and what that setup might be. So here's a Nefat calendar of support. And to be very transparent, this is the first year this has happened. When I came in, I just feel like it's unfair of us to ask new teachers, especially alternative certified teachers, to do this work by reading it on their own and trying to figure it out. Like, that's not best practices for education. And so I started kind of brainstorming what my vision for this would be. And the first step would be to do some specific support around task. So for instance, on September 13th, and I'll show you in a minute where you can go to register once we log in, and where you can get to this form. I know it might be small depending on what kind of computer you're looking at, but on September 13th, we're going to walk through 4 of the tasks in that hour. You will, we'll talk about what it means. You'll take 5 minutes and do it. Then we'll talk about what the next task means, and you'll take 5 to 10 minutes to do that one. So it will be very hands-on. Sometimes I will ask you, hey, I need you to bring your classroom demographics with you, and we're going to break down this task once you have your data. And then you'll break it down while we're on the call, and I'll be there to support you. I know you have novice teacher mentors that are district level who will also be supporting you in these tasks. I'm actually asking that people treat this like a college class. So either attend on the 13th and let's work through those tasks and get them turned in, or I know a lot of you coach, a lot of you work after school, mentoring, things like that. We are going to record all of these sessions that are in yellow and put them in a video repository. And I'm asking that you go back within the next 2 weeks before the next session, and you watch the video, do that work, and get those 4 tasks turned in. So I'm really hoping that you can see here, this is the 13th. Here are the 4 tasks we're doing. I'm going to ask that by the 27th, your mentors get on you and kind of stay behind you, making sure that you've got those 4 tasks turned in so that you can move forward and kind of keep up with the pace. There are also, these are the virtual sessions. There are 8 of them. I believe in the 8 of them, we cover about 9 or 10 tasks. So we get about half of them, a little better than half of them. Then when we look at the new teacher network meetings, those are some meetings that you are invited to this year because of being part of Pdcp. Those are Nefat driven. We hold them in Stark at Bradford County. They have a nice big boardroom space, and all new teachers are invited that are participating in Pdcp from Alachua County. And we will anchor the work we do for each of those meetings on a specific task. So our day will be much bigger than that. You do have to have a sub for that. It is during the school day, so you will have to have principal approval and Jennifer's approval. So you will need to get with her on the meetings in purple if you're interested in attending those. If you come to the yellow and purple courses, then we will do all but 15 of the tasks together. So, all but 5 of the tasks together. We will do 15 of them with my support, breaking them down initially, and then you doing the work based on that. So it will be treated much like a college class would be, where we do some work and then you go back and do some homework on it. So that would be the 2 pieces of support for you guys. And then you will be able to see it better when you can print your own. But in the orange are the 5 tasks that I'm not supporting you. And one of them is ethics. Like you can read about ethics and do that work. One of them is setting your own professional development goals and strategies. So I feel like the ones that are there are kind of self-explanatory and you don't really need a lot of support for those. But if you did, you have your mentor. So with that said, are there any questions about the calendar of support? Okay, so there are some test prep resources that Nefat has. If you haven't taken the GK yet, I will show you within the course where you can find this information as well. These are test prep courses that will help you passing those tests. Also, Learning Liaisons has some really great exam prep things that you can purchase. So these links are built into the course that I'm getting ready to let you into. So has everyone gone ahead and created a Nefat account? If you have not, will you let me know? Just turn on your mic and share. Awesome. So if you would make sure that you're signed into that account. We just had someone else enter the room. So if you just entered, would you please make sure that you are signed into your Nefat account before we go to the next screen? That is at www.nefat.org. It's always easiest if you go ahead and click the Remember Me piece. That way you don't have to go back to this screen ever. It will automatically keep you logged in. So I'm going to give everybody just a second to make sure you're logged into this before we go to the next screen. And the next one, we're actually taking you right into the system. So you kind of have gotten that overview of what Pdcp is. We'll go in and look at the system, how it's broken down, let you navigate through a few things. And then you can make a decision if you are going to participate in Pdcp. And you have a couple of weeks to get with Jennifer and make a decision before we will actually cut you off somewhere around the 15th of September if you have not signed your paperwork to have that drafted out of your check. So we'll let you go ahead. Everybody will go into the system today so you can look around. So I want you in your URL bar at the very top of your screen, not the Nefat search engine, not Google, but I want you to go to your URL at the very top. I'm going to click out of it so you can see. I want you to go to, can you still see my screen, Jennifer? Okay, awesome. You're going to go up here to this blue bar up here at the top and type in campus1.nefat.org. And when you get there, I'm going to ask you to stop. Once you've typed that in, don't click on anything. So I'm actually going to log out so I can see if I can force it to show me what you see. So do most of you see a blue screen? I can't get it to force me to do that. Do you see a blue screen? Give me a thumbs up if you see a blue screen. Awesome. So if you don't see a blue screen.
Suzanne, hold on. I'm an idiot.
No, don't say that.
Am I opening another screen and typing in campus1.nefat.org? I don't understand where I'm typing that in.
Just in your URL bar at the very top. So when you're in the Nefat, you're in your Nefat account, I want you to go up to your URL bar at the top up here, and you're just going to type right up here. You can black out that and just type campus 1.
Okay, so we're navigating away from the Nefat.
Correct. Yes.
Okay, so I would want to open another tab. I don't want to go away. Okay. Thank you.
You shouldn't need to open a new tab. You should be able to do it right within that screen. So basically once you've signed into your Nefat account, that allows you to get into the course pages that Nefat has available. So it will take you in. You should be seeing a blue screen. Do not click on login in the top right-hand corner. All right. If you will, scroll down and you will see down toward the end or the bottom, you will see a box that looks like this. You can either click on this box or this should say access. You can scroll down. They changed it on me. You can scroll down and click on the word access at the bottom, and it will let you in. Once it lets you in, it's going to ask for an enrollment key. Here is your enrollment key. It's all caps, Pdcp-ALA for Alachua County. So did anyone not see the blue screen? Did anyone have something different than that blue screen? Because usually about half the group sees something different. For whatever reason, their computer's just set up to access it differently. So is anyone having trouble getting in, or is everybody looking at a screen that looks like this?
I'm not. I'm totally lost.
Okay, so where are you in the process?
So I did that and I had that blue Nefat instructional.
Perfect.
Okay.
So all you need to do over here on the sidebar, you see Site Home.
So once I'm on that page, do I log in?
Tell me what are you looking at? I'm sorry, I cut you off and I shouldn't have. What are you looking at?
It's just a big blue screen with a Florida on it. It says available courses at the bottom.
Okay, so scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see a tile that looks like this.
Oh, okay.
You see it?
Yeah.
Okay, so click on that. Either the blue box, don't click on all the people that you see. Either click on the blue box or click on the access at the bottom.
Okay.
And then it should take you to another screen that says enter your enrollment key. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so here's your enrollment key, capital Pdcp-ALA. You're fine, don't worry about her. We all love kids or we wouldn't be here, right? All right, once you're in, I'm going to ask you to bookmark your page. So come up here, everybody should be looking at this screen. Are you with me? Anybody not with me right now?
Can you tell me the enrollment key again? I'm sorry.
Yes, you're fine. It's capital Pdcp-ALA. Anybody else need help? This is a far cry from the other day. We had about half of the group that couldn't get in, that saw something different. So if everybody's in, I feel like this is a rousing success. All right, so if you would go ahead and bookmark this page. I just put it right here on my taskbar because I come in here about 5,000 times a day, but that'll make it really easy for you to access it. And that's our goal. I really want this to be easy for your navigation. And so we're going to take a few more minutes to walk through what each of these look like and how to even upload the documents, because I want you to feel like you can be successful in the program. So a couple of things you see right off the bat. You see my phone number and my email address. It's at the top. It will always be at the top. I really want you to reach out if you need help. I am here to help you. So the next thing you'll see is announcements. You can see here, there's a couple, just a welcome and then a testing resource. That testing resource came about because some folks in an orientation said, oh my gosh, it would be really helpful to have testing resources in the system where we could click right on it. So we built out a tile, but the people that were already in the system might not know to look for it. So that's the kind of things that will go in announcements. I'll also send reminders the week before we do a virtual session for you to go in and register. So you'll see things periodically in there. Typically, it should send you an email automatically. If you log in, though, please check the announcements and just make sure there's nothing there that might be pertinent to you. There is a slideshow from orientation. So the slideshow we just walked through. If you have questions and you want to go back and look at it, you always can. And then there's a Moodle how-to video. And basically, it's walking you back through what we're getting ready to do. So you don't ever have to log back into the system again. You're already in. As long as you bookmark it, it should take you right there. But it isn't always necessarily intuitive. And so I wanted you to have access to it. Just a reminder, if you're one of those people that is just not super tech savvy, or you kind of struggle sometimes with those things, you always can go back and watch that video. So the next piece I want you to do, we're going to get your hands on this. If you would click on this first tile that says Sign Code of Conduct Moodle Overview, go ahead and click on this one. It's going to open this bar up, and you can see here you have a course information mini book. The way mini books are set up is just like a book would be. You kind of page through it using your arrows here, or you can page through it using your table of contents. So you have two options. When you get to the end, it gives you an up arrow. You can click this arrow and it takes you back to the main screen, or you can navigate using this next activity bar at the bottom. And I'm going to ask for you to go ahead and click on that next activity bar. If you didn't go in there with me, no worries. You can come. I want you to see the ribbon across the top. We just opened this task. So here was the Sign Code of Conduct, which was the last page we were on. And then this takes you back to Pdcp, the main page. So if you didn't come in there with me, I don't want you to be stressed out. It's really easy. Click on the Moodle overview, and then you can just go directly to Code of Conduct, Code of Professional Conduct. So what I want you to do is take a minute and quickly peruse this document. So this document is just the Code of Conduct. How do you act online? It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm sure you've signed a million of these over the years. And then we're going to do a short quiz. And when I say quiz, I mean you're not taking a real test, but you're signing saying, I read the Code of Conduct, I understood the Code of Conduct, and I will follow the Code of Conduct. So if you would, please go ahead and take a second to read it. I'll give you 1 minute to do that, and then we will take the quiz, and you'll just click down here at the bottom and you mark true, true, true. You submit it twice. So I'll give you about a minute to read it and about a minute to get that quiz taken.
Now, is this for everybody to do, including the mentors?
Everyone, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, great question.
I'm sorry, you said after you finished reading it, what were we supposed to do to get to the quiz?
You scroll down to the bottom and you'll have a blue button. Mine says preview quiz now, but yours will say, I believe it says take quiz or submit quiz, something like that.
Nope.
Access. Can you go all the way to the bottom?
Yeah.
You still don't see it, Karen? Does anyone else not see it?
I don't see it on this document, Suzanne.
Oh, it's not on the document. You have to close the document and go back to the website. Sorry, I should
Okay.
have said that. So here's your document, and all you have to do, all the documents that are loaded into the system are loaded to open into a new tab. So when you close that tab, it takes you right back into the system. I've worked in systems before that when you closed it, it closed you out of the whole thing, and it's so aggravating. So I built them where they opened in a new page. So thank you, Jennifer, for picking up on that.
And did you
Okay.
say we're taking the quiz twice?
No, you have to hit submit twice. It'll tell you to submit and then it'll say final submit or something like that. So you'll have to submit it twice for it to go all the way through. Any other questions? All right, let's scroll back to the top and look at our PDCP button. I want you to go back to the outside. I know a few of you are probably on here that are in your second or third year teaching. If that's you, I want you to go ahead and take this new, when we hang up, not right now, but I want you to take this new teacher first year teaching reflection survey. Your email is not attached. Your district actually is not attached. I am working on how can Nefat better support our teachers in their first year. And it's been really fun. I mentioned my husband, hearing him come home and say, okay, I was in a training today. What is a 504 and an IEP? And so I would like to be your voice in supporting your needs to administrators, to district personnel, to the mentors. How can we better meet your needs? And so some of you have had an outstanding first year. If you're just now in your first year, I don't want you to worry with this. This is only for the people who have already completed their first year of teaching. All right, so you can go ahead and close this out. Close that little bar or at the X here at the window. And I'm going to log in as a participant. So you are seeing exactly the same thing on my system that you're seeing on yours. So if you'll give me 1 second to do that. I'm just logging in as a participant. He doesn't even know I'm using his name. So what you just did by taking that, completing that code of conduct is it unlocked all of your other tasks. So now you should not have these grayed out. If you have these grayed out, would you give me a shout real quick? They should all be a blue color, just like this. All right, I'm assuming everybody's with me. So what I need you to do, I want you to start at the very beginning, as Julie Andrews would say. So let's start right here with the welcome. It says course begins here. And I want you to click on PDCP expectations. And I want you to navigate through this with me. You'll have to come back and do the reading of it, but I just want you to get used to the system and see how it works. So I want you to just page through this mini book. Again, you can do it by using the blue arrows here at the top or the bottom. Here is a suggested timeline for completing PDCP. Again, it opened in a new tab and you're going to just close the tab when you're finished. You guys may have a slightly different version of this from Alachua County. And actually, we're getting ready to change this a little bit. I was actually in a meeting today, and we're going to shift this a little bit because district leaders felt like this work was more important than some other things. So we're going to make a few shifts, which the state of Florida actually supports. So you're going to page through this, and I'll get that document uploaded, the new one, in the next week or two. But I want you just to page through and get familiar with what this looks like and how to navigate. When you're finished and you've gotten to the end, I don't want you to click this button. I want you to go to next activity. So I want you to go use this arrow here at the bottom. You can see here that this is listed as B1, which means block 1. You guys saw how they were laid out in blocks. So this is block 1, and this is actually task 1. And this is the implementation sequence. So we're looking at Pdcp. What is it overall? What are the sequence that we're going to follow? Again, we go into a little mini book here. It talks about those Feats, those Florida Educator Accomplished Practices, those course standards for effective educators. I want you to go ahead and page through the whole mini book. Here it talks about block 2, and it gives you those short, middle, and long. Instead of clicking the up arrow, I want you to come down here and look at the Feats assessed. We're going to navigate right through this unit. So these do not have any Feats that are assessed within them. They are practiced by you looking at your own continuous professional improvement, by you looking at your ethical conduct. So the state knows at this point, you don't really know what Feats are yet. You haven't looked at that one yet. So we're not assessing you on anything. We're just going to cover some of those. But each of the tasks has a section that you can break down and see what the assessed Feats are. The glossary then has some of the terms that you may not know, such as Pdcp, what that acronym stands for. Sometimes it is a term like ethics, but it breaks down just the words, just like you would use in a classroom with your students. And then we get to the first activity. So we're in block 1, task 1, activity 1. You can see here that you're going to work with your mentor to complete this. You're going to open this document. Remember, I asked you to retitle it with your last name first and then your first name, and you'll download it. I'm not giving you, you do not have editing rights, but you have access rights. So you will need to download this into your own Google Drive or your own computer and rename it with your name. So when you're finished, I'll have to go into another task. Oh, let's see. No, I don't. So you can go here and do add submission, and then you will click and drag that document from your file into this and click Save Changes. So it's pretty self-explanatory, pretty user-friendly. Once you've kind of seen the pattern, they all are set up the same way. Before you get to that submission, you have a rubric for each section. This is a complete or incomplete. Most of the rubrics after the first 3 tasks are all set up on a 1, 2, 3, 4 basis. But this is either the beginning work plan's been submitted or it's not been submitted or is incomplete. So again, you can close this window, takes you right back in, and you're back within this task. All right. Any questions on navigation? I love how when I ask a question, Rich always turns on his camera and shakes his head at me. Like, that is my favorite thing of the whole day today. That's awesome. Okay, so I want you to, you could continue navigating through here if you want, but I want you to go back to your Pdcp page and let's look. It always opens to the last one that you entered through. So you can close this out. And I want you to see, if you go in through the specific block, what it looks like and how the system is laid out. So here you have, is everybody with me? Awesome. All right, so here you have block 1, task 1. Here's your implementation sequence we just looked at. Here are your Feats assessed, here are your glossary, here's your beginning work plan. You can see here that Will has already done this work because he's received a grade with a check mark. If you've done the work and you've turned it in and you get a 1 or a 2 or an incomplete, then it just sends you an email and says you have feedback, and then you'll have my feedback next to your work, and you can fix that and then re-upload. Once you're marked complete, it does show here that you have a grade. I do want to say, if you were in the system before, I'm hoping to have this done by Monday afternoon. I'm not 100% sure just because my calendar keeps getting filled up with orientations that I had to move from last week when I had COVID. So I'm hoping to have all of your tasks, your scores moved over. So you do not need to redo the task. You don't need to re-upload the task. I'm going to look at the task in the old system and move your scores to the new system. They will not be done today or tomorrow though. So I usually am asking for about a week. I'm going to try really hard to have it done by Monday or Tuesday of next week, just depending on how my calendar ends up looking. But if not, definitely by the end of next week, that should all be finished. And so in the meantime, you can be uploading new assignments, or if you worked over the summer and you have some that you want to go ahead and upload, you can do that. Absolutely. You can see here they're set up in block 1, task 1, block 1, task 2, block 1, task 3. When we get down here to block 1, task 4, this looks like they're 2 different assignments. It's actually 2 different parts of the same task. In the old system, there would sometimes be what I've broken down into 6 tasks for some things. It would be an entire page of information. And then at the bottom, you would have 8 to 12 different things that you had to do and upload. To me, that was very overwhelming. And often what I saw in the feedback practice that I did with my predecessor before she left, what I saw is the feedback got lost in the weeds because there was so much to each section that sometimes it was really difficult to tell where the feedback was supposed to apply. So what I've done is I've broken these tasks down into individual components. So you can see here, this is part 1, and then here is part 2. So what I want you to see here, and we're going to look at this number 5, classroom management system. This tells you what the classroom management system looks like. If the state gave resources, those are included here. The Feats are here, the glossary. I want you to click on this part 1. Because what this looks at is preparing your development management system. And so I'm sorry, this is not the one. I did want you to go into number 7. So let's go back to block 1 task. That's not the one we're going to do to start with. So this is the 7th one of the 7th task, but it's the 4th component of our first virtual session. So for the class syllabus here, you're just going to create a class syllabus. It gives you the specific requirements for the syllabus. When you look at the rubric, it gives you very clear bullets. If you already have your syllabus finished, and I'm assuming most of you do, all you're going to have to do is make sure that it has all of these components and you can upload it. So it won't take you a long time to rework it, even if it needs to be reworked. The possibility is it's already complete and you're good. So there's that piece. Then you would just come down here and upload it right away. So you would do your submission and you would drop it in the box and be good to go. So are there any questions on what that looks like? To finish this task, and you can see here, here was some feedback, and I just want to take the fear out of it for you because I know that sometimes it feels daunting. Here was some feedback for this participant. He got a 3. He had all of the components, but as I looked through, he had bullets under several categories, and under 2 of them, it had wrapped the text instead of lining it all up where it looked nice and neat. And so I just said, hey, on page 2, the bullet that begins with maintain has a different indent than the others. Check the balance of white space in other areas. Another one, he had a book and it fell over some text. It may have been just the way it uploaded to me. But if it's not, I want you to go back and look at it and correct it because you can use it next year. Then you're ready for next year. You have all the components that you need and your documents are ready for use. So I want this to be very practical and useful to you long term. So then you would go to part 2. Part 2 is your school orientation and open house. There are 2 pieces that get updated or uploaded here. One is your welcome letter to parents, and the other one is your orientation or open house documents. Whenever you have an open house, you're going to use a presentation. It has these specific pieces, and here's the rubric. So it's broken down into very succinct requirements. The rubric is very clear. It's very measured. And then you would just upload that here. So on this one, he got a 4. And I just said, your welcome letter and slides made me smile. If I was a parent, I would be happy to have my child in your room. So super clear, very straightforward. But again, these are real tasks of real things you're doing. So if you would go back to Pdcp, and we're going to look at a couple of other tiles. These block 1, block 2, block 3, they're laid out exactly the same way. Again, you do not have to do them in order, except for the ones that have prerequisites, and those are clearly marked. Testing certifications, as you get your testing knocked out of the way, your temporary certification document that you get from the state with your SOE on it, you can upload that there. Again, you click on it, you do add submission, and you drag and drop it into this file. I don't care if it's a photograph of that document. You don't have to scan it. Take a picture with your phone and upload that. I'm perfectly happy with just having record that you are complete with that. And it kind of gives me a checklist so that I can keep up with where you are. Your general knowledge, all the different components of general knowledge, and I left off the reading. I need to go back and build that in. But you'll upload your general knowledge certification here. If you have a master's degree, you're not required to take the general knowledge. All you need to do is take a picture of your degree, and you can upload that as you get that complete. Your subject area exam, your professional educator exam, your reading endorsements can be taken here. Again, I just need a photo of your certificate or your completion document. When you're completely finished with everything, you will finish this document. I'm actually not even going to show it to you today because you're a ways out from being finished. Actually, I will, because I think I do have some returning people. So I'm sorry. Let me do that very quickly. When you're finished with all 20 tasks and all of your testing, all of your reading competencies, everything, and everything's uploaded in the system, you will click on this document. You don't have to put your name on this one or rename it because your name's going to go on the document itself. I don't know why it's taken a little while today. I've opened it half a dozen times today in trainings, and it's just taken it a little bit. But you will complete this document. You'll put the dates of the times that you took you passed the tests. Once your 1 year of teaching experience is complete, what your Pdcp start and end date was, your temporary certificate, you should have all of this information on these certificates by the time you're finished. So you'll just go in there, pull those certificates, put the dates on them, and then you'll upload this document. This is what I'm sending to your district to say, hey, they're finished. You can go ahead and wrap them up and get them certified statewide. Okay. All right. A couple more things. Testing resources are here. This is what our friends in Bradford County asked for me to include. If you guys come across something that would be really helpful, I am happy to add or make some changes anyway in the system that you need them. So if you would, you can come in here. This is a reading K-12 exam preparation. If you think you could pass the reading, maybe your degree is in literacy or writing or something like that, and you feel like you have a good enough background in reading to be able to talk about the theorist and such, you can come in and take this exam prep course. It's self-paced. It takes about 5 hours to work through it. You can register here, and then he sends you the link to do that. All of these are pretty much set up the same way. Actually, I do need to go back on this one. So the reading competencies, I know your district probably offers some form of reading competencies, and now I don't remember what it was. But Nefat offers them. They do cost $225 for you guys as a non-member district. So they would be $225. Again, these are all self-paced course online, but you can come in here and register for these. And it gives you some really good information about the course itself. So that is there for you. That's under the reading testing resources. There are general knowledge ones as well for reading and for the math portion of general knowledge. So those are pretty, again, they're all self-paced. You kind of go at your own learning style. So the last two things, maybe three things I want to show you. Here is where you're going to register for support sessions. So if you would go ahead and click on that button. Here is your Nefat calendar of support. These are the sessions that I'm providing. These yellow sessions are all virtual. So you can print this out and hang on to it if you would like, or download it and keep it on your desktop, whatever you feel the need to do. If you're going to participate in these, but you wanted to go ahead and get started, I would go ahead and start knocking out some of these extra 5 tasks if you have some time to do that. So the first virtual support session is on September 13th. You would click to register for that. You're going to click here on the registration link. Go ahead and click it with me. It takes you to a box that says click here to open registration links. And it opens up this document that has all the dates and the links, and it has the tasks discussed. So if, for instance, you got on it today and you've knocked out the first 3 because they're pretty straightforward and short to do so, and you might not want to attend this one. So you might want to come and just look at the communication plan. Whatever you feel the need to do, we're here to help you. But again, you're just going to click on that link and it takes you directly to the Nefat site. You're going to scroll down and register. This does not mean anything other than the fact that you are going to get an email with a link the morning of the session. So I've had people say, well, can I go ahead and register them? And what happens if I can't? Can you guys still hear me? Okay, it looked like my screen froze. We are having terrible weather here. But if you want to register for all of the virtual sessions, feel free to do that. That just means you're going to get a link. You're not getting points for this. So if you can't attend for some reason at the last minute, it's no worries at all. Nobody's going to come looking for you saying, why didn't you attend? Once we record those virtual sessions, we are going to put them into this video repository. So we will make them all available to you. And you can see here, we actually have a reorientation course already built into the system that we recorded. And we'll probably record today's session and put that in here. So a regular orientation will be here also, Jennifer, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and build those out. Again, if you decide to do these, I really would like for you to treat this like a college class. So if you cannot attend the virtual support, put it on your calendar to do that within the next 2 weeks. They're all pretty much scheduled about 2 weeks apart on Tuesdays. So as you go in, feel free to register for them, or go ahead and put it on your calendar and say, I know I can't attend the virtual session, but I'm going to watch the video and do the work before the next session. So any questions on that? Any of the tiles, navigating through Moodle? The one last thing I want to show you is over here, you have grades. And I want you to see what that looks like. That's why I chose him, because he has already completed some things. Some of these tasks he completed in the old system, and I just make a note in the comments, completed or feedback right here, completed in the old system. Some he's done in the new system. So as they're done, you can see he got a grade of a 3 or a 4 out of 4, or he got completes out of an incomplete or complete. All right, so you can go through and check your work at any time. I know this looks like more than 20 tasks, but it's not, I promise. It really is the same 20 tasks that the state already had assigned, but well, let me just show you what the old task looked like, just so you can understand how the navigation worked. So when we went into our task, I'm going to go into a unit plan. So I want you to see here, it's kind of set up the same way. You had to go across the top looking at Feats, the rubric, the glossary. But then here is one task, and I want you to see, here's a piece of it, here's another piece, here's another piece, here's another piece, and another, and another. There's 3 different lesson plans built out here. Then all of these documents have to be submitted at one time. Then you got feedback on all of these documents at one time. So what I saw is people would get feedback and they would do part of it, but it was so overwhelming that either they didn't understand what part of the feedback went to what, or it was just a lot of information. And so they didn't, sometimes it went back and forth 3 or 4 times before it was accepted. So I don't want that to happen. I want it to be very clear and easy for you to navigate and understand what you need to incorporate. I'm going to go back to my ribbon at the top and go to Pdcp, and I'm going to show you that same task and what that looks like now, just so you can see that all of those components are here. So when we look, here's the first part of that unit plan, and this rubric only is connected to that first component. So you're going to get feedback just on this piece. Then you can go to the next one and you will do right across the bottom. And I messed up on my rubrics here, so I've got to fix that. But here's the next piece that you will do, and it actually has the summative assessment and it gives you a test map. So you're going to open this, you're going to complete it with what it's asking for, which of course we'll do together if you choose to do the virtual session. And then you can check your rubric to make sure you have all the components to that piece, and then you will upload it and get feedback. So you can see how it completely connects with very, I guess, clear and specific goals and resources. So are there any questions from returning folks or new folks on the system itself? All right. So with that said, I think I'll let you go. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Remember, my email address is here. We will leave you guys in the system until the 15th. And then on the 15th, that gives you time to look through it, time to start doing tasks if you want to. On the 15th, I will cut it off unless I've heard from Jennifer that you guys have filled out your paperwork. Okay, so Jennifer and I will get together somewhere around the 15th to look at that. So you have a week or 2 to decide and get that paperwork done with her. All right, any questions? All right, you guys were awesome. I feel like this was like a whole different story than our get together that we had the other day. So
It
I'm
was.
glad that it's gone so much more smoothly. So if you don't have any questions, I'm going to stop sharing if I can figure out how to do that. It looks like there are some chats here. Are there questions in chat, Jennifer, that we need to talk about?